as you will be no doubt aware by the frankly intense media coverage, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II was laid to rest earlier this week on Monday, and lots of military units and uniforms involved. So we're going to go through them and see who's who, what uniforms they're wearing. Now, got to go back a couple of weeks, the timeline. The Queen sadly passed away on the 8th of September. She was initially moved to the Palace of Holyrood House and then to St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh for lying in state. There was a vigil held by the royal children, Charles and Edward and Andrew, I think, and that took place on Monday the 12th. And I'm going to put an image up, not my photo, obviously I'm borrowing all these from the internet, and you see the gentlemen in green with the big floppy hats. They are the Royal Company of Archers. That's the monarch's official bodyguard in Scotland. You'll notice they are armed with longbows, and I think we see here Anne is wearing Royal Navy uniform. We'll come back to that. So from there, the Queen was moved. It was originally hoped she was going to go by train to London. That plan got cancelled, and she was actually flown down by the RAF in a C-17. And here we see, where's my figure? Yeah, I put an image here. Pallbearers from the Queen's Colour Squadron Royal Air Force Regiment. These are the guys who do all the ceremonial stuff for the Royal Air Force. So if you see RAF doing drill, it's probably them you're going to see. The Royal Air Force Regiment is the sort of the ground force of the Royal Air Force. They do force protection around RAF bases. So they're the infantry of the Royal Air Force, essentially. So, having been flown to London, the Queen lay in state in Westminster Hall, and there's a lovely picture of the Times here. I'll put it on that side. That's from the vigil that was on the Friday with, and we see here, I can actually show you this image, Anne, Charles, Andrew and Edward, all in spanky uniforms. Now, Edward, don't often see him in military uniform. He's wearing this is the Royal Wessex Yeomanry that he's wearing, which is it's an army reserve unit. It's a cavalry or tank unit, and there's a bit of history there, but it's not a well-known unit because it's a yeomanry. Now, so Prince Edward is Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Wessex Yeomanry, which was formed on the 1st of April 1971, basically merging the Royal Wiltshire Yeomanry, the Gloucestershire Hussars and the Royal Devon Yeomanry, and became the Royal Wessex Yeomanry in 1979. And that's obviously the full dress uniform. Andrew and Charles obviously in the Royal Navy uniform. Now this is a bit posher than the usual Royal Navy uniform. You see this is what's known as ceremonial day dress, only worn by royalty and admirals, and it's basically the last vestige of the pre-war full dress uniform, which would have been worn with a cocked hat and epaulets, but you know the jacket's the same. The #1 dress uniform you normally see with the Royal Navy is just the peacoat with a shirt and a collar and tie. Princess Anne in the rather spanking uniform of the Blues and Royals, of which she is Colonel-in-Chief, with a cocked hat and lots of gold lace, and obviously riding breeches because the Blues and Royals are a cavalry unit. Weirdly, the yeomanry get trousers. Now, The Saturday night, which was the 17th, we had another vigil with the grandchildren of the Queen. So William, Harry, Zara Tyndall, Peter Phillips, Beatrice and Eugenie. William and Harry were the only ones wearing military uniform. Interestingly, Harry, this is the only point where he's wearing uniform in the funeral, because he's effectively retired from being a prince. He's not officially entitled to wear a military uniform, so he's given up his honorary titles, but he's wearing the uniform of the Blues and Royals on the Saturday night, as is William. They both served in that unit. Again, Andrew, as we saw, he was wearing the Royal Navy uniform on the Friday night. He was wearing civilian clothes at the actual funeral service. He was given special dispensation, again, because of the controversies. I'm not going to say any more than that. Regarding Prince Andrew, he's basically been stripped of all his royal titles, but he was allowed to wear a Royal Navy uniform for the vigil. Yeah, he's likely to be there, to be honest, but we'll say no more about that. The other units, or the other people you see standing going by the coffin, and there's quite a large picture. I don't know if we can get all that in. Obviously we see the beefeaters in the Tudor uniforms with the rough collars and the hats with the flowers around them. Very distinctive. These are of course the yeoman warders of the Tower of London. Very well known. The guards from the army, with the famous, obviously, red coat of the army and the bearskin hats. I'm not entirely sure which units. I think they might be Welsh guards. It's hard to tell from that distance. The guards, or the foot guards, are made up of the Grenadier Guards, the Coldstream Guards, the Welsh Guards, the Scots Guards and the Irish Guards. Similar uniforms, but slightly detailed differences, including badges on the collars, button arrangements and hackles. The chaps you see with the epaulets and the helmets with the big plumes and the axes, they are the gentlemen. I'll try that again. They are the gentlemen at arms. The bodyguard of the Honourable Corps of Gentlemen at Arms is a bodyguard to the British monarch. Until 17th of March 1834, they were known as the Honourable Band of Gentlemen Pensioners, and they're made up of retired military officers. The corps was formed as the Troop of Gentlemen in 1509 by Henry VIII to act as a mounted escort armed with spear and lance to protect the sovereign in battle or elsewhere. Gonna leave a Wikipedia link somewhere. It's quite an interesting history, but you probably see these guys around about and you've never heard of them. Certainly not as famous as the beefeaters or the guards, but they're again a ceremonial military unit. Now I guess we come to the funeral itself. At the actual funeral itself, so we see the coffin being carried out of Westminster Hall by the pallbearers, who were from the Grenadier Guards, loaded onto a gun carriage which is pulled by sailors of the Royal Navy, wearing the famous Navy sailor suits. That's their #1 uniform. I'm going to do a video about that at some point in the future. But the royal party here, we see Anne was in Royal Navy uniform, William and King Charles now in Royal Air Force uniform, Prince Edward still in the Royal Wessex Yeomanry uniform, Harry and Andrew were just in mourning suits, they were just in civilian dress. Again, present in the parade you've got Her heralds, you've got the gentlemen at arms, the Royal Company of Archers, the Beefeaters, and the Foot Guards, and the Royal Navy, and there are a load of military units which I don't have photos of marching behind the parade. So the Queen was taken from Westminster Hall to Westminster Abbey for the funeral service on a gun carriage pulled by the Royal Navy sailors. There's a whole history of that going back to the funeral of Queen Victoria. Previously, the gun carriage would have been hauled by horses of the Royal Horse Artillery, and on the day of Queen Victoria's funeral they didn't behave and just wouldn't go, and the Royal Navy were like, we'll do it, just yeah, grab some ropes everyone, and the Royal Navy pulled the gun carriage, and that's been a tradition ever since, that the royal funerals, the gun carriage has been pulled by sailors from the Royal Navy. Went to Westminster Abbey, had the service live on TV. You've probably seen it. Most watched TV event ever, I think. Then after the service, from Westminster Abbey to Hyde Park to swap the coffin from the gun carriage into a hearse, and then driven up to Windsor Castle for the actual burial, which was just a private ceremony with members of the close family. So that was it. Very interesting. Just an amazing ceremony, but again, lots of uniforms on display, lots of military units on display. So it's worth having a look just to break down who did what. This is a Steamboat Willie production. If you're interested and want to see more uniforms about military things, uniforms, that sort of thing, give this a like. See you next time.